a nice kind of social there. But.
Brian, you guys get some new trucks? Putting slurry down? Or you run the ones you got from down south?
Well, there's 4 new ones. All right,
Are they the orange ones and
yeah,
white?
those white ones. Yeah, those are newer. And then we picked up the ones from I forget Monarch too. We brought those up.
Yeah. You had them the year before.
There's 8 now total.
Yeah.
Eventually we'll swap them out so they're all automatic, so we don't have to
Yeah.
run into who can drive them, who can't.
Yeah.
I have some more satisfaction for you.
Good thing. And the phones are paid off.
We have the internet tonight, so.
Yeah, streaming live, huh?
And
Well, it's not
then to
live,
the
'cause-
extent,
Yeah.
GoDaddy doesn't, for some reason, doesn't like YouTube anymore.
they
So,
drafted
well, we're gonna
a
change
motion.
over
He wants to make a motion for all that
They
stuff.
cut the cable out here last month,
Oh, sure.
so I had no Wi-Fi.
Because it's long.
I watch them once in a while.
Yeah.
If I don't make it in.
Well, it's, there's a couple of times I had trouble here, and then they cut the cable. And then my whole laptop decided it just didn't want to do YouTube Live anymore.
So my
So then I
key
run my
has to be
laptop.
in here
No,
because
that
my
works.
card, there it is. It's in here with my key.
See how straight it-
And I couldn't find
I
it.
know,
in the
I know.
car. I was looking at the receipts.
It shouldn't be that hard. That's all.
Doing that before I get my truck, I get in the truck and
You want me to
sit
date
there.
this, man?
But one read me not.
All right, am I gonna notarize anything? Yeah, you can date it can he date it today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did bring my stamp. Should I notarize it or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. You-
Okay.
I don't know if she filled it out for me or if you have your stamp, you can sure. There's
Is that
just,
the ones from Sophie?
well, those are the satisfactions. People paid up their
Oh.
loans. So I need to file a satisfaction with the clerk. These are the ones that I got if you want to. So I don't know. That's the things that Kevin gave me. So that's what I drafted a word if you want to do it. Yes. Now that I found my key. I was listening to the news this morning and they said, there was just people talking in the news and they said during an interview of applicants, they intentionally put the chair down
Yeah.
to the applicant to see how she or he would respond to being like the lowest one for the table. So how did I respond? I switched the chair.
Yeah, just it.
Oh, Kevin can find a different chair.
I'll just do the same thing. Looks like blue, doesn't it? There's one. Okay. Sure it's like on the ground.
I'm going to Brandon Dillon. Talk to, yours must have been ringing because me and Christie were talking about it.
Christina Smith,
Yeah,
talking about me,
yeah.
how amazing I am. Sure, that's how it went.
Yeah.
Along with that, people say I'm delusional, but I live in my own world and that's just fine.
I think we can raise them off.
Yeah. Let me just put them aside. Okay, is that what you did now? Okay, thank you. Better.
Printer.
Am I like dead center in the camera?
No, he is.
Oh, good.
Well,
Good, good, good.
Yeah, you're way
Yeah,
off. to the left.
I like it.
HD camera?
I bought about 3 or 4 different ones,
History Channel.
and then this is the one that seems to have the best, the biggest thing is audio. You know, the high priced ones, you can pick them up. This one seems to, as long as they just.
Yes.
Moving the tractor. Mowing the damn.
It's 1080p.
It probably isn't. I can't get a pay extra for HD.
Plug it in.
When you plug it in, it helps.
Yeah. Plug it in. Sandburg is just terrible. It's flying up, getting over here. Didn't I send you the treasury report?
No, you did not send it to me.
Oh.
So I was gonna
Sorry,
call
good now.
you.
Good. How are you?
Right.
Yeah. That assistant of yours should be fired.
Keep up with these guys.
Yeah.
Back to Lisa. It's the 12th, but he signed 11, so I did the same thing.
Okay.
Just so you know.
You know, you know.
Okay.
Change it.
No, that's okay.
No,
It's
it's
okay. We got it.
Goes to Kevin as well?
Yeah.
You get lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Don't bury that ass go too far though. That's what we're talking about.
Okay. Did you want me to look at it? Did you want me to look at it? You just said you
You can, that's
I'm gonna pass that down to Kevin too. I forgot to give it to him last.
More for Kevin.
So Kevin.
That's not. That's just, just see that.
I got him.
Yeah, lay it right there.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to zoom in on the dead fly?
Yeah, just-
No, that's okay.
It was a motion to make.
7:30, I call the meeting to order. Sit right concert. Stand, honor the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America. And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Second. Yeah, motion and a second. Is there any discussion or anything we want to add? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Approval of minutes from August 8th meeting. Your motion,
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
for a second.
My second.
Have a motion and a second. The last meeting minutes. Any discussion or just think we're gonna change? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Treasury report, Kevin.
Okay, so I do have it up here right now.
We started August 1st at 174,592. And we just got 11,971 in. With 57 of that is interest, so not a very big month for income. If you look at it there, you had road materials. We did have some people pay on their loans, and a couple pay off. So road material is in a negative, which is good. It's in there to try to drop us down a little bit there for in our budget. Other than that, you can see there was only wasn't very much expenditures. Actually, $44 in the whole in the minus because of that road materials. So we had a net receipts of $12,000. So you have in there the purchase of the snow blower. I did do that check, $16,960, and then so it leaves us a balance of $169,632. And so I had the bill for right after the meeting. I got the bill for the dust control, which is $195. So yesterday, and when we had this meeting to get ready to pay it, I moved $197,000 from CD over, which I had talked to a couple of you about in there. So that'll show on next month. So, and it'll show what the bills were. But there, like I said, there wasn't very much activity in the finances and stuff. And there, even payroll was 376, which is pretty small for us. So, unless there's any questions.
Hearing no questions, motion to approve the treasury report.
Make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
Is there a second?
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, we'll move on to old business. And Rich and Kevin have been working on that. Lisa? 64th Street grant application.
Do you want to talk, or you want me to talk on a little bit?
Why don't you go ahead and tell them what we need?
So we went to and talked to Josh Gehrman and kind of went back and forth with him. I actually got his attention finally that I pushed him that everything has got to go through him. And he's been kind of the holdup on him and getting it to the state. Well, after we met with him, me and Rich met with him, then all of a sudden he found the person that does that, what's it called? I can't think of his report number, traffic report that they wanted, that the state wanted. And so then me and Rich and Todd went and met with her and stuff in there, even though somebody was a little bit late for the meeting. But we met with her and actually had really good progress and stuff in there. And I sent her a whole bunch of things, and then she sent a whole bunch of things back for this meeting. And then I did email them and stuff in there that she wants for us to do the grant and stuff in there, that we have to fill out some paperwork and do a resolution. We talked about it quite a bit and stuff in there, and actually I thought the meeting went well, and it seemed like she knew really what she was doing to help us out to get it to their state, and it has to be there by December 1st. There, that go for the grant process.
Her title is Community Development Manager is what her title is.
That's what her title is, but I said it in the last meeting, and I can't think of the name of that. We have the traffic.
It wasn't that big, was that? And we asked you to about it.
I can't think of the name of it. But anyway, she's got,
Analysis,
what's that?
there was
Yeah.
some analysis we had to put together.
Yeah, traffic analysis and stuff in there. So they knew how to do it. They said it's actually a long process. We'd actually looked at one when we were there. And they're gonna do it. What they do is that they submit all the paperwork and then work for us, and then they get their money. If we get money from a grant from the state, they get a percent, not of our share, but from the FEMA money and stuff in there. So that's how they make their money. But it was very good, and I was very good meeting. And actually, I was pretty impressed that I sent her a lot of data that they had, and pictures and things like that. So she was pretty responsive. But she is waiting for that. If we can do that resolution and keep on working on it.
Yeah, so, essentially it's to continue the process to try and get grant money. You got to, they provided, you need a resolution, appoint somebody, execute an assurance agreement, execute an agreement to provide 15% of the total project costs and costs exceeding the budget if the grant is awarded and the township later passes a motion to do the work. So there's no guarantee the work is going to be done. This just takes it to the next step of applying for the grant, and public entities get grants and later decide not to do the project. So this doesn't mean the project has to be done. It just means you're applying for a grant, and if they award it and you do the project, then you have to pay that 15%. So if you want to move forward, then somebody needs to make a motion to authorize all of those different things.
We have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, I make a motion to pass resolution 2023-1, appointing Marv Manifold as agent. Also authorizing Manifold as agent. Execute the grant agreement. To execute the insurance construction program with the state, and to execute the agreement to provide 15% of the total project costs and costs exceeding the budget.
I would second that motion.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We're good with old business? Okay, we'll move on to new business. This is for future plans for the asphalt development. Got a gentleman here tonight, some estimates.
Just try to, what we did, we called them up and got a rough estimate, see what it's gonna cost to surface seal the areas we blacktopped already, to keep them up in good shape. So he went ahead and gave us an estimate, not a bid, but an estimate, so we know about where we have to be for each development. And that's what we needed to know, information to pass on. And he's here now, he'll fill us in on what's all gotta be done on that.
Sure, and the stuff that you received from Travis, I'm Ryan with the Asphalt Surfacing Company. And the last couple of years, we started the slurry seal and microsurfacing program here in Sioux Falls. It used to be done with companies coming from out of Utah or way out of Missouri, but Sioux Falls has been doing it for about 10 years, and finally there's someone local who does it. So we're reaching out to HOAs as well and trying to get that information out there that this is available. It's a quick setting emulsion with a mineral filler that binds everything together. So there's a chemical reaction that's mixed on site with a bigger machine, goes down, and it sets up. It's usually drivable within 3 hours. So it's a nice alternative to the traditional chip seals, especially in municipalities. People don't, whether it's the internal sweeping or the mess that comes with that. I'm not saying there's no value in those types of surface treatments. It's different. It lays a little more of a mat, an emulsion mat, 3/8 inch or a little more, depending on how much aggregate you want in it. And it's a type 2 or type 3 aggregate that's usually used. The thing in it has a rough appearance when it's first laid down. And I think what people need to remember is if you go to like Western Avenue, well, that naturally rolls out over the next week or so with all that traffic that gets on there. In an HOA or something, depending on, the aggregate you want to. You choose function over aesthetic, so to speak, at first. It'll stay rough or longer just depending on the traffic. It's got kind of a rough ride. So I don't want to confuse anyone and say, oh, you're going to be out there and it's your best roller skating surface that you want. It's a real functional application. Now, you can use a Type 2 that is a little less rough, that kind of thing, to take that out. But again, it's a little more, what do you want protection against the snow blades a little more versus aesthetic. That's kind of the biggest difference right there. A little bit of pricing difference too, depending on the aggregate.
So you're saying the Type 3 would be the smoother ride,
No, type 3 is rougher. The Type 2,
Rougher?
yeah, Type 2 is.
but it lasts longer? Is that what you're trying?
Well,
It's higher
I
price.
think it's a more of a wear course. The cities like Sioux Falls are going with it. They feel it wears better with the snow plows and things like that. You get on the county highway, they're going to do a scratch course and then, another course over the top of it with about the same amount of poundage. I think sometimes, I think most of it is more of a little bit, like I said, aesthetic and type of ride a little bit. I haven't seen anything particular that says it's this much different. Of course, when you go farther south and they use these surface treatments, they don't have that issue as much. So they go with a little less aggregate and stuff in the enforcement. Typically, you like to try to seal the cracks, before you do it. And forgive me if I get the different townships. I think Hidden Valley is a little newer in some regards, didn't have a lot of crack. I think maybe 2,500 feet of crack. You resealed some, most of it's probably already sealed on all those roads up there. I looked at Iverson Crossing, you're getting that stage. This is a real, there's some areas that are starting to break up. There's some new construction back there. There might be some different things back there as well. But you have quite a bit more crack sealing in there, probably in that $5,000 to $6,000 range just offhand. But just resealing what's currently there. You don't want to waste a lot of crack seal on areas that are all busted up. That's kind of just a waste. The slurry does help mitigate in some of these areas that are getting kind of bad. But it's not, again, this is a maintenance. It's geared towards extending the life of the road 7 years. Right? You're trying to add that life to these roads. Once you reach that point where it's falling apart, it's not a repair. Now, in the course of doing this for 2 years, we've done some pretty rough roads, and I've been pretty impressed with how it's held up. In fact, Sioux Falls is actually doing a little bit of a mill and using slurry. They did it downtown between 8th and 9th on Phillips, and just did it over from Grange to Minnesota on 33rd. So they're actually milling a little more and putting a little material. They're just using the money they have in their budget to get some of these roads smoothed out a little bit. So, but certainly.
So how many years after you redo the asphalt, how many years are you looking at before this kind of thing? But I know it depends on the traffic and the kind of things that have.
Sure. This is like a 7-year process. Now you'll still get, every year, any kind of surface treatment, right? Even if it was a complete mill and overlay, right? If you milled it down, you still get reflective cracking from those cracks that are underneath there over time. And it's usually not a lot to, that's where you stay up on it. Your money best spent is always sealing your cracks from the get-go. Because once that gets out of hand, that gets into the bigger problem areas. But just from a maintenance standpoint, yeah. And it's going to fall in that about, this is just general rule of thumb, it's about twice as much as seal coating, if you're familiar with the traditional seal coating, lacking the difference in price.
So in terms of them eventually bidding something out if they have to, what you're saying is you do crack sealing when you get cracks, but then after X number of years, you're either going to do the microsurfacing or the modified slurry seal, or the seal coating. Is that fair?
Yeah, and in this case, I really want to take the seal coating, the
Yeah, I mean, you
microsurfacing
just
slurry,
mentioned
yeah.
it. So,
Yeah.
so you first do the crack sealing, but then you have three options if you want to try and do something. One would be the slurry seal.
Yep.
Another would be the microsurfacing.
Yes,
And the third would be the seal coating
yes.
that
Yeah,
you don't recommend, which I get, but I'm just wanting to understand because when you're doing the bids. And then just so the public knows,
sure.
what was presented was for Hidden Valley, if you do the microsurfacing, they were looking at about 91,000. If you're doing the slurry seal, about 103,000. And then for that's the Hidden Valley, and then for Iverson Crossing, if you do the slurry seal, well, if you do the microsurfacing, that is about 39,000, and if you do the slurry seal, it's about 43,000. So those are just estimates, and if we have to bid, we have to bid depending on what it is, and we'd have to probably be doing it at the same time. Are you thinking both of them have to be done next year?
Usually after about 3 years is what they target. So depending on
After
some
3
of the
years and
stages.
no overlay, then,
Well, you'd want to look at surface treatments like microsurfacing and slurry.
but I mean, after 3 years of the road, the mill overlay, doing the road.
I think
that's
it becomes a little more subjective. You're gonna go look at the condition of the
Yep.
road. Some roads are structurally in a lot better shape than others, or haven't had the same wear as other areas. So you can identify. That's a big piece of this too. You could go out and have those conversations and say, this is a waste of money to do this here because this road is, I mean, we're not gonna, this is a very maintainable road, structurally sound, with some crack sealing and microsurfacing or slurry.
So is there a cost, is there a cost per foot or cost per mile,
It's about a square yard is what.
square yard?
Yeah.
If you do it, do you have to do the entire development all at once?
No, it was actually a question that just came up because we want to be very helpful. So if some people are wanting to think, well, let's do these streets this year and these, it's ideal because of the nature of this is it is kind of a big moving operation that we can try to, if we have 10,000 squares here and 10,000 squares here relatively close together, that would be helpful, in keeping that price reasonable.
Yeah.
I use 20,000. That's what we use with the small towns. Try to come up with 20,000. If they want to, they're trying to tie in with another town or something like that because, it's you got to get the trucks coming out of the pit. Machine's fairly substantial. But it's relatively painless. It goes by and it sets up and you can get back to your house in a few hours.
So we had LTAP come in here and kind of look at them and stuff in there. So did you look at Hidden Valley and
Yes,
Hidden Valley and Iverson? And
yes.
did you look at Pine Lake Hills or either one of those, Pine Lake Hills or Misty?
I went to Pine Lake Hills to look at some of the old paving that was done there not too long ago and things. And yeah, I went through there. I commented that they're structurally, Pine Lake Hills look really good. I don't know if I looked at all the streets.
Yeah.
I was just kind of checking out the paving. since I
Because
was out
Pine
there.
Lake Hills is pretty new, but
Yeah.
with LTAP, we looked at all the different ones. So I was kind of curious. So you're kind of saying that we should do slurry seal, for Hidden Valley and Iverson and stuff in there. That kind of is what you're kind of leaning towards.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
restricted.
Well, we were thinking that was probably the oldest blacktop that's out there right now.
Yeah,
Iverson's.
and when we looked at it, that's what we talked about, if we should do it,
Yeah.
And I said, well, we shouldn't really do it this year because we have, frankly, in developments, they don't have that much money. And so if you're talking even 100,000 and, to do one where,
I
Be
kind of
pushing.
had visited with Kevin about this, but we have 7 asphalt developments currently. And if we could, and between Kevin and I, maybe we can get this done, maybe for another meeting, but to kind of put the date that those developments, where the asphalt was updated in those.
Mhm.
And then I think it wouldn't be a bad idea, because Kevin always struggles every year when he goes to do the budget, like who needs what, trying to figure out the dollar cost of that. But maybe to have like a asphalt road budget or something, or a key that we can go by, like after, did you say 3 years? We
Yeah,
should
and
look
certainly
at-
I can get some more information, yeah.
Yeah,
Usually after about 3 years, you start looking at your surface treatment. I always say from day one, you're always gonna be looking at any kind of cracking in there.
Yeah.
Which should be minimal if it was installed properly and
Yeah.
everything like that at the beginning, but then it becomes pennies to keep that, relative compared to other things, after
but I
that.
guess I'm kind of looking for a roadmap for the future for all of our developments. And, just so we kind of have a plan to look, and not that you guys don't already do that, I know, but Kevin always has to get those numbers put together. And I guess thinking ahead too, is if we were to have that in place and know how much we're bringing in for those 7 developments at the square front foot assessment rate, and we only know we can get $2 front foot assessment, it might be another piece of the puzzle to take to our legislators to be able to move that bill to get that to a higher rate. I mean, it might just be another helpful tool that way, is if we have something forecast, for the future. And I don't know if anybody else thinks the same way, but
Well, that's kind of why we
yeah,
invited him
brought him
tonight
to come, yeah.
to get to
And I think-
ballpark figure where we're at.
Yeah, you need to incorporate people that do that kind of work and stuff to get your numbers where they need to be. But I'm just thinking maybe we can,
So are you saying after every 3 years, you need to do a micro seal or slurry seal? Or is it just one time and then it's supposed to
No,
last for
and I-
25 years? If we're anticipating the road's gonna last 25, 30 years,
You would probably have at least a couple times in there to try to extend, when I take the full slurry, but you would always, the process would be is you'd really want to be keeping up with your, have a little bit of money for your crack sealing, and then, staying up on that slurry. And again, some of this gets a little bit subjective. Let's say the research out there is saying extended life 7 to 10 years. Okay, but you might get better life on this road
right.
than this road over here.
Yeah.
You might be able to, instead of this road, you might be able to say seal coat or fog seal a road that still has maintaining a lot of its aggregate, things like that. There's other things that you can do in between.
A lot of this volume too, volume of traffic going through there.
Right.
A lot of our developments are filled, or they're done. It's just some have traffic going through to another one, But
Or there's new construction down in the
Yeah,
end, you start to
yeah.
see, some of the equipment down there is a little tougher
Right, those are-
on maybe some of them roads, yeah.
okay, but go back to if we anticipated the road that was just built is gonna last 30 years. Generally speaking, if it looks, after about 3 years, you need to do a microsurfing or slurry seal. And then do it 2 more times during the life of the road, potentially, or just 1 more time at some point. Or not at all, or 6 more times, or,
Well, I would speculate that you would, 1, maybe 2 times
total or after?
after.
Okay, so 2 to 3 times during the life of the road, do one of these processes. Okay,
Yeah, and depending on the type of road, what's going on.
Okay.
I always speak carefully for that because then
Yeah.
sometimes it has heavy truck traffic that's banked up.
Yeah.
I don't want this unrealistic expectation that a surface treatment's gonna prevent that, yeah.
so what is fog sealing?
Fog sealing is just like a cut tack. A lot of times I'll do it over the top of chip seal after a while, or maybe immediately afterwards, to hold the aggregate in there a little better, keep the road intact. It's a general surface sealing. It also helps protect it from the sun's rays and any kind of treatments on the road.
Is
It
it
falls
more,
along the line of seal coating as well. Now,
so it's more
remember,
expensive?
what's that?
It's more expensive along the side line of seal coating, right?
It can, there's different,
Yeah.
depending on the rate of application and everything. Seal coating is gonna be about $1. If I went this up numbers, median price is gonna be about $1.80 a square yard. Okay, this, when you get into the microsurfacing and that, it's gonna be about twice that. I mean, let's just say for simple reasons, it'd be about twice that. But this is putting not just a coat down over the top to protect the surface, which is also good maintenance. You're putting more of a wear course in that, you know, to help protect against some of the beating that the road takes as well.
And the seal coating has to be done more often if you do that.
Seal coating in commercial, let me speak to commercial parking lots, maybe is an every 2 to 3 year thing. You look at a church parking lot, it's every 4 to 5 year thing, depending again on traffic, but that's kind of a rule of thumb right there. A driveway, you know, is that every 4 or 5 years. Some people have a different, you know, what they just want it black all the time, so they might want to do it a little more frequently. You know, then it comes back to everyone's budget and what they want.
Then a road is, you talked about parking lots and the driveway, but what's a road for seal coating every what?
Is it every 2 to 3 years,
Okay.
probably.
Have you run into any situations where there's an existing development, somebody's gonna develop adjacent to it, and that road's gonna be used heavily during the construction? Have you had that to where the residents of that road could obviously go to the county meeting and address that with the next contractor? Does that happen to you?
Well, here's what I would say today. If you have some new development and you're looking at some roads, this is why choosing your roads is carefully. You think, oh, we're gonna have a lot of this type of work on there, because the skid steers and all that kind of stuff will wreak havoc on it. And we've done, you know, whether it's in Sioux Falls or other things, you know, we get out into those newer developments, maybe we're out of the, they're thinking, well, we're gonna get way ahead of this, we're gonna be on that starting at 3 years, start this program. And then, I don't wanna say amazed, but I always have those conversations like, you do realize that, you know, you're gonna have some damage to this slurry and stuff back here. Now, we help, you know, by applying some other little emulsions and trying to keep that out of there, but the nature of it is, and maybe you've seen it on some of your own roads, not that anyone does it on purpose, but you have someone doing some landscaping, they're spinning around on the road, they tear up all the crack seal. There's not many surface treatments that are gonna withstand it. So I think it goes back to, you wanna make sure that you really look at that and see if that could be a problem, and maybe you wanna focus those monies elsewhere. Because we don't pay, like, with the cities, we don't pay for roads, it's usually somebody else saying, well, we want you to do these roads.
So this is what I brought up with the spreadsheet that I do that for the annual meeting and stuff in there. So this is gonna be really helpful, because that's gonna give me more of a cost, because I do have the square footage of all those asphalt roads. I have to do some calculations, but I have the length and the width, and so I just have to do some there. But when I was doing like chip sealing for, like, say, Hidden Valley, and you know, when we was talking, we're only talking 20,000 is what kind of is protected. So then when we do it next year, we'll need to up that number if that's what your direction is that we're going to go to the slurry or look for a slurry seal more. But LTAP actually said that we should do Iverson and Hidden Valley. The other two were pretty good yet. And those were done in, Mystic Meadows was done in 2020, Pine Lake Hills in 2021, and Hidden Valley in 2016. You know, so it's basically, it's past that 3 years quite a bit for Hidden Valley.
Sure, and that's right at the beginning, you know, I mean, if I look at Hidden Valley and what I've seen, because as you go look and assess that, there's not a lot of structural cracking. I mean, it looks good. You know, I would have assumed it was about 3 to 4. It's a little older than that. So again, now when you get into Iverson Crossing, I think there's some areas and some roads in there that we'd have to say, okay, is this, you know, are we just making it look pretty, or are we having some, you know, good maintenance function with this and helping this road last? And I'm thinking more, now again, this is just recalling that down, I think there is some construction down there. I think there's a few bad areas I was looking at down at I forget the road. I believe it was Iverson Crossing too. It was just some general new construction down there, just kind of taking a peek at that. Because sometimes if it's been chip sealed before too, you have to look, is that just that surface chip seal cracking or is that structural stuff that's really happening down below?
But it's still crack sealing first step and then go from there.
Crack sealing is the first step. And you don't, if there's some areas that are really bad or something like that, we don't be making rubber patches. That's a different process, that kind of thing.
And see, in 2021, we did Iverson Crossing, Highway Improvement Incorporated repaired some cracks that we had. So that was kind of the last that we've done.
Kevin, do you have on Iverson Crossing was the asphalt was done? I don't think we have that.
I know, that's one of them, I was done before
Yeah,
before I
that's
started.
too, and I don't know.
Before. And the records that I got were vague and stuff in there, but I have no idea when Iverson would have done. And I actually tried to look up by invoices, but I did go to QuickBook Online versus QuickBook. And I think it was done before actually Tina went to QuickBooks.
Right.
Because I could not find an invoice for when Iverson was done. But I don't know, was Iverson done through us though?
It might have been the original
Or
developer.
does the original?
Probably 20 years
I
ago.
don't think we did it.
Yeah, see, so we didn't do it, so I wouldn't
Yeah,
have any
right.
records of it then.
Exactly, that's what I thought.
And that's where I could not find any.
Probably 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the way I look pretty
It's
good.
all look good then.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I do not know the date for Iverson's and then like I said, it didn't go through us, so then it didn't, it's even the one over there on, what is it? That one circle that they did, it didn't go through us.
Red Rock.
Yeah, but,
Okay, any other questions for future plans? All right, we'll move on to elected officer update. Pam, do you have anything?
just a reminder on the landfill, good till the end of the year. Marvin mentioned this earlier, but our next meeting that we have to have is on October 31st this year, Halloween. I don't know, Lisa, when it falls on a holiday, I don't think you have any discretion, do you?
I don't know that Halloween is a national
Holiday.
holiday.
I think you're right. Like Marvin said, you just have to come.
However, what I would say is, there's nothing that says the meeting has to be at, 7:30.
Right,
You could have a meeting at 9 in the morning. You could have a meeting at 3 in the afternoon, which might be a good idea because you don't have the trick or treaters.
right.
So I would suggest you set your meeting for sometime other than 7:30, because otherwise people are gonna egg your properties.
Right. Gotta be home.
are we gonna have the meeting, the
No, we're,
the
Not
normal
the
meeting in
second.
October? So
no, we've scrapped that one a couple of
Okay.
years ago since we have to have this one.
Okay, so,
So,
Although I tend to come and nobody's here and then
yeah.
what?
What's the deal here?
So I would say it might be a good idea to move the time to something other than 7:30.
So my granddaughter's birthday wouldn't matter either.
Unless you can get it as a national holiday.
Oh,
Okay,
She has.
So is there a time you wanna move the October date to, since you're not going to be having a meeting in October before then?
It gets dark earlier than, well, not yet, we don't move the clocks till November, so. I'm open to anything, what,
9
anybody else?
o'clock in the morning.
works for me. Sure.
9:00 AM. So the audience knows that too, but we'll say 9:00 AM.
so on the 31st at 9:00?
Yeah,
So
and we'll
then,
have her put it on the website too, so.
there's no meeting in November then?
No, there's one
Yeah.
in November.
Yeah, there is in November, but
October.
not the second Tuesday of October. We're bypassing that because
Got
the state has, you have to have this
Okay.
last
Because
week.
Costumes are optional at the 9 AM meeting.
The deal is that you're required to have these two meetings. Like most townships don't meet once a month like what we do. So they just have these two meetings you have to do these two meetings.
And the
So-
reason is because a lot of townships only meet twice a year.
Yeah.
So,
And,
Do you have anything, Todd?
Oh, just, looked at a few busted off signs, one on River Bluff. The sign located, just need to do posts. Keeping up on some washboard on some of the beginning of some of the roads get washboarded, but Rich has kept the guys out there taking care of those.
Hey, Rich?
Yeah, we got the mowings all done. He's been around, he thinks he got it all mowed for the year. And then we also rip wrapped another spot on 264th, closer to the Cherry Rock Garden. And now we got one more spot between the bridge and Beaver Valley Church Road. There's another spot there that's getting close to the road, so we want to rip wrap that yet. We'll get that done, then we're done with that. Trying to beef up 264th in case of the higher water. It's a good time to do it when you got low water. The tractor, the new one, was in for a recall to John Deere. I called them last week. They're just putting the cab back on. It's a transmission recall or modular in there. So we should have that back shortly.
They were actually also repairing back wipers too.
Yeah. We put new tires on the tractor, the mower tractor, because the back tire was getting cracked and stuff, and sidewalls were getting bad on that one. And then we mounted the tires on the motor grader, the new ones for the winter, the M. So we're getting, and then the boys are putting stuff away, summer stuff away and getting ready for the winter and just organizing.
Good, Rich?
I ordered the Lyle signs. They should be coming pretty soon, those posts and stuff in there, so I think they usually contact you. The shop battery on the camera went down, so I don't know if you noticed that stuff in there. I got it charged up and I'll put it up right after this meeting. And then also I did talk to or emailed the sheriff again. Was they out there on 41st Street some more?
I haven't seen them. I mean, but that doesn't mean they aren't there. I don't
Okay.
know.
They said they was gonna be there. It said especially on 41st Street, because see if you could catch that one that's going real fast.
Yeah. Saw him
but-
again yesterday.
Huh?
Saw him again yesterday.
Okay, so I'll send them a message again afterwards that, hey, but we didn't figure out a time that it's just kind of random, right?
No, you can't.
Right, so then, I told them to go again on Mystic and 41st Street, but more emphasis on 41st Street because it looked like they were speeding and stuff in there. And I did get all this stuff sent to that Sophie and stuff in there that we were just having trouble with some of those estimates and stuff in there, so you can see.
Okay, good. Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Anybody got anything? Okay,
In terms of volunteer trees in the ditch, there's more, they're there, all you gotta do is drive.
Yep.
It seems like there's many as ever this season, so would it make sense to make another mower pass? And I don't know how big a diameter trees your mower can handle, and I don't know that that's a good idea, I'm just suggesting, I'm not saying.
That's what I told the guy mowing. I said, the reason we're mowing is to keep the volunteer trees from coming in the ditches. So if you get down to them, mow it to them. Go to the fence line. So if he's not getting to the fence line and it's not too steep for him, I'll send him back out.
you can mow 4-inch trees with that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's up to you guys are running
No.
this thing, but.
But you know where you're talking about. Is it steep?
Well, some places you're exactly right. He doesn't. That's the unintended consequence of what I'm suggesting. Yeah, and maybe you don't want to do that if you're worried about tipping.
Yep.
Because there's places he has no business being. But
Right.
there's places wherever what I'm suggesting is wherever he can, mow.
And
Because for a couple reasons. One, let's knock down the volunteer trees. Two, doesn't it help with the snow load
you're right on both accounts.
late in the
And-
fall?
And that's what I told him, but maybe we should look in renting a boom mower to reach down in there further.
Yep.
Then you can go after them that are hanging off the edge and without tipping the tractor over.
Right. Anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Just give it a little thought and just drive around a little bit. You'll see what I'm talking about. They're bad this year, and I work with this too in your ditches and in my fence lines. And the biggest problem for me right now, we're losing our leaves. And in terms of herbicide, it's hard to get very good control. We're starting to drop leaves and we're in severe drought basically. So it's the herbicide part of it's not working well right now.
Okay. Do you have anything?
Oh, the only thing, how do you get accurate traffic count on 264 if the road is closed?
We don't. I just have the one that they had when they did the bridges. And then after that, we didn't even have a counter for that, so before that, so I just used the county ones for active, what they said that was active at the time when they did the bridges, so when they did the deal for the bridges, but yeah, right now there's, so that was one of the things that we talked about at the meeting that we can. So that's why it's hard to figure out your cost benefit analysis on that road right now.
They're aware of the situation, but with the, in the situation is now.
Yeah, because it's been closed for 5 years.
Right.
It can't be accurate.
So they're aware of it. Like you said at the meeting, we discussed it.
But yeah, they kept on one this cost benefit analysis, and then to that you need the road, and then you need to figure out how far you have to go around because the road is closed. We took a look at it too because of that. There isn't another place to put a road, through, it's a section line road, but yeah, there's no way it's hard to justify how much count there is going to be on there. Yeah, there's going to be there's more developing out there, more acreage is popping up, but it's hard to decipher how many people are going to go down there road.
So I know it's tough to tell, but there's a lot of traffic on my driveway, so. As far as people coming in, turning around, going back the other way.
You think they're just lucky Lewin, or whether they?
No, they come up and turn around and then go all the way around the road, to get to the other side.
I think I may know what's going on there too. There's that, I saw it for years, there's that Mark Schmidbauer, 64th Street, there's an arrow that mimics the turn around that corner that we can't go down anymore.
Okay.
That arrow is pointing up our driveway. Although we have a private sign drive, I think they still see that, I don't know if the arrow, but it's a hashtag or something that shows pointing around the curve, but there's no curve there, so they just think that, yeah, I can go this way. So maybe if that was taken down, it would help a little bit. They always put it back up in the future, but.
Good idea.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
Anything else? Virgil?
I have a few things. I guess, just so that you know, I'm still updating the data from the signs, posting it on the website. Every so often comparing, May to August and June to July and that type of thing. So, if anybody's interested in, traffic counts and speeds and things like that, it's all there. Second thing would be the corner where Dan Anderson lives, that section of road that goes east from the intersection. How much of that road is township after the asphalt and how much of it is city? Do we know? The reason I ask is because they put a culvert in on that road coming out of the development, which they told the city commission that they would not do that until the road was paved. And they got side dumps and dump trucks and traffic going in and out of there. They put a culvert in, which if it's a township road, I'm sure they didn't go to you guys. But if it's a city, then, if it's next into the city, then it doesn't matter. Not much you can do about it. But, I sat right at that meeting and they promised they weren't going to, you probably can't do a darn thing about it. But what's that?
Townships maintain the road.
Right.
Very
And, I guess it's just a beef from somebody in the neighborhood. They seem to think that that's a great way to go in and out of, they go east of me and they turn in there and they go east down by River Bluff and you know, side dumps and big dump trucks and going all the time, you know, so for what it's worth.
Mark, did the township do dust control then in front of dams?
Did they?
Yeah, did you guys
Yes.
do dust control?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
wasn't sure.
And then I guess the last thing is our domain name and website hosting is due next month. And just, I'm gonna switch to, if it's all right with you guys, I'm gonna switch to somebody else. I have to build a new website, but switch to somebody else because they've gotten so expensive. This, you know, you're gonna, you know, for 3 years, you're gonna spend $600. You know, we can do it for half that, or even less. But, I'll be, you know, switch that over. It won't get all built the same night, but, you know, we'll have something up. I'll transfer over to another company. And I bought a package thing that, you know, so I do the fire department and the township and Hall of Fame, you know, all under the same umbrella, you know, so then I can work with him as far as, you know, what costs, but it'd be dramatically less than what, you know, they want $43 for 1 year a domain name. And I just bought one for my brother for $9. So they're just closing the daylights out of us.
Well, but we need to pay you if you're building all
Yeah,
this.
I would
stuff,
probably just, you know, I don't know if I could just, you know, submit a bill or something like that, you know, to Kevin and,
Yeah, it just seems like your time is more valuable than the differential, but that's, I
Yeah.
assume not if you're saying.
well, you know,
that,
it's, once you get it built, it's not that difficult, you know, there's just 2-3 things to do.
Maybe for you.
Yeah. But,
You good?
but if that's all right with you guys, I'll switch this over and save us the money, save quite a bit, you know, and then, so, but I got the fire department moved over. And, I don't know, I can't think of anything else.
Okay, Tim?
I don't know when the proper time to do it or take a look at it would be, but we got a new house being built down there on Skyview Circle. And, the utility companies just dug the heck out of Skyview Circle. They actually trenched through the road and we've got a pretty good speed dip there now. And, been trying to fill it in, but there's just no binder. And when you keep on putting the gravel back in the hole, it just pops right back out.
Do you know what utility
We
company?
can find, you know, with that.
Which utility company dug the trench?
I think it was a power company that actually dug it up.
Do you know which power company?
I think, what's that,
Which
Sioux Valley
one?
Electric. I think, the internet and all that, I think they bored under it. And the water's on that side of the road, so it's not the water that did any digging on that, in the road. So I think Sioux Valley's the one that actually dug the road up. And I didn't know if we could get a hold of Sioux Valley Electric and take them out and fix the road. But they, cause
What
we
do you
had
guys
this thing
want?
that had loads of gravel, 3 loads of gravel on that road. We had it looking great all summer. And
Where do they come from, the east?
what's that?
They come, the power come from the east, or?
They come from my box there, right out of my front yard.
or they just went south?
And now it's my culvert's all messed up. I'm gonna have to replace my culvert. And yeah. Who's a good one to put a culvert in? Who would you recommend to put a new culvert in anymore?
We use Postman quite a bit.
What's that?
Postman quite a
Is
bit.
the postman do culverts?
I don't think he would.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Need a motion to pay bills?
I'd make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
Okay, for a second.
Nice second.
Okay, I'm gonna read off the biggest, bills. LJ Everett's is, for road materials, $5,743.53. Midwest Oil, $386.87. Dustbusters Enterprises, this is the big one, $195,293.10. Butler Machinery was $2,561. Bargain Barn was $4,291.55.
Dustbusters blew that budget line, so.
As long as I'm less than Virgil, it's good.
I know my arithmetic is right.
That's all I'm looking at.
Okay. We got a total there coming?
Yeah, 209, 167. 7 bills.
All right. Have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
motion carried. Okay, we don't need executive session. Motion to adjourn, so move,
I make a motion. Second.
motion carried. Next meeting, October 31st, 9 AM. Time change. Okay. Thanks for coming.
Right here.